welcome back to Dead Wives and Kids with Knives, a nuanced discussion of the literary works of Stephen King. I'm Cody.
I'm Jill.
We are here today to talk about Salem's Lot. I don't have my copy of the book. I lost it.
I have this one from the library.
That is, I think, the same one I had. Is that the 50th anniversary edition?
I don't know.
Who wrote the foreword to that?
There wasn't one.
Oh, then that's not the one that I had.
Who wrote
The one
the
I
foreword
had
yours?
was the 50th anniversary edition. The foreword was written by Joe Hill, who was Stephen King's son, who writes under the name Joe Hill because he didn't want people to buy his books just because he was Stephen King's son.
Which is so weird, because I like money.
Yeah. Stephen King's other son, Owen King, is also a writer, and he had no problem writing books under the name Owen King because he wanted people to buy his books because...
Wait, what's Joe Hill's name?
Joe King.
Oh, just Joe King?
Joe King. Maybe that's why he changed it. No, Joe Hill, though, is one of my favorite authors. He's a fantastic writer. He, when he first started writing, he intentionally avoided writing horror because he didn't want to be seen as just trying to, recreate or emulate his father's writing. So he tried writing like dramatic prose. He tried writing, other kinds of genre, and he sucked at it. And nobody would publish anything he was writing. And so eventually he was like, fine, I'll try writing some horror. And he wrote this book of short stories called 20th Century Ghosts. And it got published immediately. It's fantastic. It has some amazing short stories in it. And like the movie Black Phone with Ethan Hawke, based on a Joe Hill short story. The movie, there's a series that was on AMC called Nosferatu that ran for 3 seasons, I think, based on his first novel. He's a great writer. I just finished his most recent novel called King's Sorrow. That was amazing. I loved it so much. If you guys haven't read any Joe Hill, go read Joe Hill. He's like his dad, but he understands technology.
So he writes for modern times
Yeah.
better?
He's like a young... The thing that I really like about Joe Hill's novels, Stephen King, one of his greatest strengths, I think, and we'll talk about this in Salem's Lot, is he likes to set pieces in place. He'll introduce you to this person and this and this and that, and he spends like the first half of the book just kind of like putting pieces on a chessboard, and then he tips over a domino and things start moving in motion, momentum, and once that happens, you're hooked. You're in the book and you just can't put it down. Joe Hill's real strength is just starting with action.
Yes.
And just continuing it and then ebbing and flowing. Like he likes to tell stories that span decades. Like King's Sorrow, it starts in the late 1980s and goes all the way to like 2020. And it keeps you invested the entire time. Like you're following this group of like 6 people for 40 years of their life. And he's able to keep that interesting by just moving through these major moments in time through their lives.
Yeah. That is, without the horror, that is how John Irving tends to write too, like generational stories and things like that too. So,
but yeah, I love Joe Hill. He wrote the foreword to the 50th anniversary of Salem's Lot.
My dad did good.
Yeah.
He did good books.
But it's just crazy to think if like Stephen King's your dad and you grow up as a kid just being told like bedtime stories by the master of horror. Obviously, you're going to be good at writing horror because those are just like the ideas that are going to be in your head from the time you're a little kid. So, yeah, go read some Joe Hill.
Yeah, cool. I don't have time, but I will. I'll make time. I learned. So before we get into the book, do you want to warm up a little bit?
Sure.
And play our game. So our game is our improv game.
Describe a movie or describe a book poorly.
Describe a book poorly, and so today's game features Salem's Lot.
Salem's Lot. I didn't even think about this before.
Yeah, I thought of like 2.
True improv.
Yeah. Ooh, look at you. Salem's Lot is a story that you learn that you don't need the internet as long as you have a librarian, an old lady with binoculars, and a lot of gossips in a town.
Salem's Lot is a story about the failures of the modern church.
There's a lot of that going around in these books so far. Salem's Lot is a great sales pitch for coffin sales.
Salem's Lot is a book about how you really just shouldn't go back to your hometown.
Salem's Lot teaches you that sometimes the kids are all right. That's a nice one.
Salem's Lot is a story about how small towns kind of suck.
Salem's Lot is a cautionary tale of a man opening an antique store in your town that doesn't need one.
Salem's Lot is an advertisement for Ring doorbells.
Salem's Lot is a great visitors, what do you call those? Visitors guide for the super pale.
Salem's Lot is a good reason to look into cremation. Could have avoided a lot of trouble.
It's true. All right, that's probably all I got.
Yeah.
All right, feeling warmed up, ready to
I
talk?
think so, yeah.
All right, well, before we even get into the book, just the title, I was confused for way too long about why they kept calling this place Jerusalem's Lot.
There is an apostrophe
And
there.
there's an apostrophe, and so then I'm like, are we saying it wrong? Is it Salem? So that's, and then I also wondered if Salem traditionally is short for Jerusalem, and that all the towns that are called Salem, if they're all, if that's what the origin word of Salem is, and I
don't think so. So, before he wrote Salem's Lot, he wrote a short story called Jerusalem's Lot, which is set in like the 1700s about a town that predated this Salem's Lot that also had vampire problems. And that story appears in the short story collection Night Shift. And so that kind of fed into when he started writing Salem's Lot. And so he initially, his publishers were the ones who suggested shortening it to Salem's Lot because they felt that Jerusalem's Lot gave too much of a religious overtone to it. People are going to be expecting too much of like when's Jesus going to show up here? So like, no, we can't call it. We can't say Jerusalem. That's too much. We're gonna let's short this to Salem here.
I see.
Yeah, but whenever I see Salem, I think I'm immediately like, why aren't there witches in this? Because the Salem, I think like Salem witch trial. There's no witches.
Not that we know of.
Not that we know of.
Not that he wrote about it. I feel like he would have though.
There's also in Night Shift a second short story that's sort of an epilogue to Salem's Lot called One for the Road. Which takes place at a little town like 10, 15 miles, whatever, down the road from Salem's Lot, like the winter after the events of this book. And it's like a couple were traveling, or like a family were traveling through Salem's Lot, and like the dad ends up at this bar like, hey, something bad happened to my family. And the people at the bar are like, yeah, you went to Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
What, are you stupid?
Are you?
Yeah. So what are you doing here?
Yeah. So any other introductions to it that we need to say before we get into it?
Well, so Salem's Lot is something he started writing while he was still working on after he had finished writing Carrie, but before he received the money for Carrie. So he was still living in his little trailer with his family, still working at the laundry, still teaching in the school. So like he wrote this book like at night when he would have his like 3 hours of free time, when his kids were asleep and So he was still very poor writing this book as well. Yeah. Which I find very interesting because this is a novel. He'd written one novel. He's writing another novel. And novels are investments in time. At this point, he'd been making most of his money by writing the short stories like we talked about during our Carrie episode. And when you're writing a novel, it is really, you're taking a bet on yourself. Because you're taking all this time that you could be using to just push out like a dozen short stories that you're going to be able to sell and make $250 here, $500 here, to buy diapers and beer and cigarettes and cocaine, all the things you love to have and need to have for your family.
Right.
And instead you're saying, no, I'm going to take this time and instead put it in something that may never sell, that nobody may want to buy. And I just find that very interesting that now that he's sold one book, he's like, okay, now I know I can do this. Now this is what I'm going to be doing.
Cool. Yeah.
Because like I've written a bunch of sketches. You've written some sketches.
Yes.
Last year we wrote a show for Fringe Festival, Harry and Perry's 100th one-man show.
Yep.
Best duo show, Casey Fringe. And it took a long time.
Yeah.
We met for hours and hours, weeks and weeks. And to make and create an hour show, and it takes so much more time to write something long than it does to just write little 3-minute sketches, you know.
It's about the same for me, but that's just because I'm new.
I wrote a play that we did last year called Seven Naughty Men, and it was it's a 70-page script, and it takes so much more time to sit down, and it does feel like you're like kind of betting on yourself that this thing is going to be successful to do something like that.
And then Stephen King's like, I'm going to write 4,000 pages.
Yeah.
At a time. So yeah.
So I don't know how much of that was confidence and how much of that was cocaine, but
right.
Probably a mixture of the two.
Yeah, and this is because we've read them out of order, so we've already read The Shining, which he publishes later. So this is the structure of this book is also much more novel. Like it just tells a story from beginning to end. Usually in the other books, it's a lot of so there's a prologue that lets the audience know that there were some survivors, but the town no longer exists. So we kind of know, and that's kind of his deal, is like he likes to start at the end and work backwards, or have like a frame or an outer story that's narrating the inner story.
Yeah. Well, he does a thing with the prologue, though, where he doesn't name the characters. He just says it's the man and the boy. The man and the boy are traveling across the country. They get to Mexico. They're in the little Mexican town. You know, they're staying there. The man's getting the newspapers from Portland, looking for news. You know, he's looking for particular stories about this particular place. And the boy's learning to speak Spanish because the boy's very smart. The man can't learn Spanish. The boy becomes friends with the priest down there. And the man's just getting his newspapers. He starts working on a novel. He's talking to his publisher, you know. They're just kind of hiding out and waiting. But they never tell you who they are.
Yeah. And so I completely forgot that existed. And then I started the book, which was already more in the action than the books usually start, which is nice. But it does not get interrupted all the time with articles and other narrators after the fact. It just goes right into the story after the
I feel like that's
prologue.
him sort of trusting himself more as a storyteller.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't need to, like, fill this with other things to prove that what I'm doing is interesting. Like, I can just trust my own voice here to tell an interesting story.
Yeah. And he employed a wider ensemble of characters for this one, too, to be the people that have the information to tell him, rather than having to stumble on articles or whatever to find the stories to tell. So he just gets we get to hear the townspeople just tell these stories rather than having to read articles about it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So anyway, so that was my ready to dive in start of it. So you ready to hit it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Woo! All right.
This is the first Stephen King book that does what I think is his real talent as a storyteller, which is building a whole community, making an interesting town, an interesting world that then he's going to destroy.
Yes.
And that's something he does over and over again in his works.
Yeah, I got really nervous. So basically, like, it's starting off, I think, is he driving into town? Is that kind of the scene? Is that this author is driving around town?
Yeah, I think your very first scene, once we cut away from the prologue, is Ben Mears coming in, you know, kind of describing as he's coming into Salem's lot. You know, the first thing you really see is the Marston house.
Yes.
Up on the hill overlooking the town.
Yes.
And Stephen King gives us long, paragraphs-long descriptions of what you're seeing as you're coming into town, the different roads that come in, the different ways you can come into town, just sort of describing your geography.
And then as it goes, you're starting to meet the different characters. There's a cop whose last name is also Gillespie.
Gillespie, yeah.
very excited about that. So I'm like, that's one I'll remember. But yeah, he pretty much, I don't know if it's worth trying to list everybody out. I don't know.
I think main characters we can stick with, because there's so many characters in this book that get their little side stories that if we try to list all of them, we're going to be here all day.
Yeah. So there's like the main pockets of characters, like the cliques in this book are going to be the cops, the
Parker Gillespie and
Nolly.
Nolly.
And then so there's the police. There's the kids the guys that work at the dump, because the dump is a place where they go a lot. Duds. The Floyd, and then Mike's the cemetery guy. So there's the cops, there's the guys that work at the dump, there's the guys that work at the cemetery, because
Mike
people
and Royal.
Yes.
He gives them such interesting names.
Yes.
And I don't feel like these are just names that were like popular in the 70s that we just don't use anymore.
Yeah.
But like Royal as a name to me is just like.
Yeah.
Nolly, Duds, those are just like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like he was just looking around his room and like he sees like a Crown Royal bottle, you know, like and then so there.
This is my brother Zenith.
Yeah. And so you've got kind of those pockets of people, and then you've got the ladies, like the gossips and all of the things.
Mabel Wirtz, the old woman who just sits with her phone and her binoculars, just like surveying the town.
Yeah, and he set it up where it's a phone system where you just have to hope the line is open when you pick up your phone in your house. They don't really have. I don't know how you would dial. I don't know how phones worked in the 70s.
It was like a party line.
Yeah.
It's just like one line for the whole town. You're just like, hey,
yeah,
someone yell at Becky. Tell her I need to talk to her.
Yeah, and so they those folks, and then the first people that Ben pretty much comes upon and who are kind of central to the starting action of this is Susan. Is she at the rest? I don't know where she is when he stumbles across her.
She's at the park in the book.
At the park. That's what. Okay.
Yeah, and in the book, it's interesting because he just kind of goes to the park and like she sees him, and she recognizes him because she's reading one of his books. I think she's reading Air Dance. There's like two books they always say, Air Dance and Conway's Daughter.
Yeah.
And you get the impression that both of these books are a little like risque. Like that's the kind of author he is, which is such a Stephen King thing to do, you know, very horny writer.
Yes, very horny writer.
And so she like approaches him and she's like, I've read your book, you know, I like your book. And she basically like asks him out.
Yeah. And then he also talks to the real estate man, Larry Crockett.
Yep, real piece of shit.
Yeah, real piece of shit. Because he also has heard that somebody bought the Marston's house. He was coming back to town to write a book about Salem's Lot.
Well, he specifically wants to rent the Marston house because he had an experience there as a child that kind of transformed him. He wanted there was a group of kids there. He came to Salem's Lot as a child to live with his aunt because his mother was going through some sort of mental health issue, battling something. And so he goes to stay with his aunt, and there's a group of kids there who call themselves the Bloody Pirates.
Okay.
And he wants to...
Okay, so I lost track of why that phrase was important by the end of it when it started meaning something. Okay.
So he wants to be part of their group, and so they challenge him to go into the Marston house, which is infamous in this town because it was owned by this gangster bootlegger named Hubie Marston, who's notorious for having killed his wife and himself in like the 1940s or whatever. Go into the house and take something from it and bring it out. And so when Ben is like 9 years old, he goes into the house, he goes up the stairs, and he sees Hubie Marston hanging from the rafters in this room.
Yes.
So he's like the ghost of him.
Yes.
And he grabs this snow globe and he runs out of the house.
Okay.
And he's got this snow globe and he's kept that with him his entire life.
Yes.
And so he has now come back to Salem's Lot to deal with this experience, to get his catharsis from it by renting this house and writing a book there about this experience, about Hubie Marston, about Salem's Lot. So that's why he goes to Larry Crockett to be like, I want to rent this house.
Yes.
And Larry's like, tough luck, kid.
Yes. And we find out that he has sold it to Straker and Barlow.
Two European gentlemen.
And he sold it to him for like a penny or a dollar or whatever it was. And then they also bought the
totally legitimate deal.
Yeah, and they also bought the laundromat.
The old laundromat, yeah.
And so these two European men, we don't really know who Barlow is, but Barlow is gone on a buying trip.
Away on business, yeah.
Yeah, he is absent, and oh, by the way, I'm trying to figure out. So Ben learns all this information, and they guide him to Eva's boarding house, and so that's where he ends up staying. He gets a room there at Eva Miller's boarding house.
Just filled with just great little characters.
Yes.
Weasel.
The drunk, right? Is mostly his function,
yeah.
I think. Is he
he's
a
the drunk,
guy?
but he's also sleeping with Eva.
Yes. Yeah. Small town living. Mm-hmm. All right. So Larry is scum. And
because we find out later that Larry also made this deal with Straker when he sold him the Marston house for $1, that in exchange Straker gave him this land where they're developing for like a shopping mall or something. Like transferred all this property to him. So Larry's like made this deal of a lifetime. And he's just kind of hidden it away. And like just this a literal like deal with the devil.
Yes.
And Larry, we also find out like he's sort of like the slumlord of Salem. Like he brought mobile homes, like trailers to Salem's Lot, and basically created like poverty in the town.
Yeah.
Like he's like leasing mobile homes to people. Like created. He's like a slumlord. Like yeah. He's not a great guy.
Yeah. And so we also learn about Straker, who's the outsider guy. He has a lot of control over him. We see him we see Larry Crockett take a phone call from Straker, where Straker is asking for these very specific things that he needs done that Larry is going to be paying for. And it's send some men to go pick up some crates, and we'll take most of the crates to the antique store, but this one larger crate you are going to take to the Marston house. You're going to buy padlocks. You are going to take this crate into the cellar, lock it in the cellar, leave padlocks on the table, lock the doors to the house.
Totally legit.
Totally legit. Won't tell him what's in anything, and also.
And Larry has no choice because this guy has him by the balls. Like,
yes.
Now that you've interacted in all this like illegal land negotiations, like you just have to do anything this guy says.
Yeah. So that's kind of some of the. So that's how the story starts. Is that Ben has come to town at the same time Straker and Barlow are coming to town, and then we start to, and then that's kind of the entry to keep meeting all the characters.
Yeah.
We go to the
kids.
The kids.
Yeah, we meet Mark Petrie, one of my favorite characters in any Stephen King book. This kid is fucking awesome.
Yes.
We're introduced to him immediately fighting the school bully.
Yes.
Because he's the new kid in town, and the school bully wants to beat him up, and Mark's like, all right, I guess I got to fight this dude.
Yep, and then he wins.
Yeah, he whips his ass.
Yep.
Because he's like a smart kid, and he just understands things. And Stephen King, one of his skills as a writer is writing children, like writing their inner thoughts, writing their inner voice in a way that you're not being writing like down to them, writing them in an intelligent voice that still sounds like a child.
Yeah. And
that's something he'll do over and over again. You know, there's a reason that this podcast is called Dead Wives and Kids with Knives. There's so many child protagonists in his stories that he just gets how to write them in a way that is engaging and once you just want to root for them.
Yeah, it gives them a lot of credit.
Yeah.
And so we know, so there's Mark who I think his family was also new. You said
they had just moved to town.
Yeah, and then there's the Glick family.
Glicks, Ralphie and Danny. So those are like his buddies. And then Richie was the bully, but we never hear from him again. So for the most part, so we don't have to worry about him. And so there's a night where a couple of big things happen. So the kids are
the Glick kids are walking home.
So Mark is really into like classic horror.
They go to his
elements.
house. That's right.
He has all these
Yes.
cool like figures he puts together, like classic horror monsters. He has like Frankenstein and Dracula and the Mummy, and he's got all those little toys. And so the Glick boys are going to go over and see Mark's collection, but they tell their parents they're doing something else because they wouldn't want them doing that.
Yeah.
And Ralphie like blackmails Danny into taking him with him, or he's going to tell their mom what he's really going to do.
Okay.
Classic little brother bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
And Danny's like, okay, you little turd, you can come along. And so Ralphie, who's like, I think in the book he's supposed to be like 7, and Danny's supposed to be like 9 or something.
Okay.
Like they're young kids. So they go to Mark's house, they see his toys, they're, you know, duly impressed by all the cool stuff he has. And then they have to go home. But it's late, so they have to cut through the woods.
Always have to cut through the woods in a horror book.
They have to cut through the woods, they have to jump over the creek, you know.
Yeah.
And Danny, who's just still annoyed that Ralphie's with him, starts telling him about the ghouls in the woods, trying to scare his little brother. And then he turns around and Ralphie's gone.
Yep. Ralphie's gone, and then he doesn't remember anything.
Yeah,
like
then you
he
just
kind of
cut to
blinds him.
Danny just stumbling into his backyard. You know, his parents are trying to call into Petra's house, trying to see where their kids are. They're like, they left, you know, left a while ago. And then you just get Danny stumbling into the yard, being like, I don't know what happened.
So Ralphie is gone. We don't know where Ralphie went. He's missing. And so that event has happened, and then also the dog happens right around this time.
So we have the guy who's at the cemetery, whose job is just like caretaker, grave digger, all the stuff you do there.
Yeah.
And he's got his dog who's always with him.
Yes.
And who finds the dog in the book? Because I know in one of the movies, Ben finds it.
So Mike? I'm trying to remember. So the book is also, all the characters are the same brown-haired guy. And so my brain is trying to, but essentially they find like a sacrificed dog impaled on the gates to the cemetery where it looked like a ritual thing had been done to it. The dog's name was Doc. Will, I wrote this down, Win, and his dog Doc.
Yeah.
Those are the two people. But anyway, so that has also happened, is that there was a animal sacrifice and one of the boys has gone missing.
Yeah. So
those are kind of the first two big things that like really indicate that something is up.
Which in the 2004, they don't mention this in the book, but in the 2004 miniseries, Father Callahan points out that like, I wish you would have told me about that dog being died. We would have pushed back this funeral because this is no longer consecrated ground.
Right.
You know, by killing something here, you've tainted the cemetery.
Yeah. Yeah, so there was some sort of ritual that had to happen, and then we find out next. So many things happen all at the same time in the same chapter, because he'll cut to each point of view, each little character group's point of view, and so trying to keep them all in order.
It's just like him again, just putting his chess pieces on the board, just stacking things up.
And so this is another book, kind of like where like everything is happening in the span of like a week or something, but it's just so much information happens all at once, and so we know.
So then I think we would get to where they get all the crates, they get the truck. So Larry sends 2 guys to the docks.
Yes.
Like Larry's not going to go himself. That's not what Larry Crockett does. Larry hires people out.
Exactly.
So he gets the 2 guys. They get all the crates. They drop the ones off at the store. They get to the Marston house.
Creepy as fuck.
Yeah, they're grown men, and they're like, I don't want to go in there. You go in there. I don't want to go in there. You go in there.
Yes.
They go into the cellar. They get the crate down in there. They're starting to get the padlocks, and one of the guys looks in the corner and sees like a bundle of what looks like clothes.
Yep.
And he's kind of like, what the fuck is that?
Yes. Doesn't investigate.
Yeah.
Just notices.
They put their padlocks on, and then you get him at Larry's office the next day. And he's like, hey, Larry, you know that kid that's missing? I saw some clothes in that basement. Kind of looked like clothes that kid was wearing. And Larry's like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Because I got $100 says you probably didn't see that.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. Anyways, I'm gonna fuck off now.
Yeah. And so, I'm trying to think of so then in the daytime, because there's like what happens in the daytime, what happens in the nighttime kind of happens here. And so we know that Ben and Susan have kept talking.
Yeah, so now you get to like the dinner at Susan's parents' house. Like
Yes.
now that they're like have gone out, like Susan's parents want to meet this man.
Mm-hmm. Now technically, Susan was dating a boy named Floyd Tibbets, who Mom really likes.
And who was one of the bloody pirates when Ben was a kid.
Ah.
So like Ben's like, oh, I knew Floyd Tibbets
Okay, yeah.
in the book.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And so Mom is very skeptical because small towns, they don't like new people. And
Floyd
also,
Tibbets is dependable. He has a
Yes.
job. He's steady. He's a known element.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Ben Mears is this guy who just came into town. You know, who knows how long he's going to be there. Who knows if he's going to take Susan with him. Because Susan, we find out, had gone to New York. She's an artist. Had gone to New York, tried to make it as an artist, failed, came back, lived with her parents.
Yeah. And they just start going on dates.
They
kind
go to
of
like
their
the movies.
trajectory.
There's like the movies to go to. There's Dell's, the Roadhouse. Like every town in Stephen King has like a Roadhouse bar. You know, there was one in Cary. There's there's one in all of them.
Yep.
There's like 3 places to go. Like you can go to like the movies. You can go to Dell's. You can go down by the river and make out.
Yep. And they did.
And they've done all of that.
Yeah.
So now you got to go meet Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
And Mom hates Ben.
Yes.
But Dad kind of likes him. Dad's like, even though he's a writer, he seems to have a level head, you know.
Yeah.
He's not talking about his money.
Yeah. So that's all kind of happening while the town is starting to get weird. So they're kind of in their little bubble. And then that's when... So the way... This is where my brain is mixing the movies that have to move the plot along with what was happening in the book. Because I don't think they ever reveal what happens to the Ralphie, do they? Like
No.
Not in the book.
No.
They very clearly show things in the movies, but not. So
all we get in the book is Danny gets sick.
Yes.
We get Danny just suddenly, he's not well.
And he's the first one, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first infection is what we learn, and I want to ask a question about the vampire lore.
And so my taking from the book is that Ralphie was sacrificed to Barlow.
Yes.
Barlow was in the box that was taken to the basement.
Yes.
He'd been brought over across the seas in the shipping container. He's very weak, and so you get the Straker is giving the speech. Lord of Flies, I bring the sacrifice to you.
Yes.
And so Ralphie is giving him a sacrifice. So Ralphie just gets killed by Barlow, gets eaten by him to bring him back to full health.
Yes.
And then my understanding of the book is that Danny was essentially bitten on his way home by Barlow.
And just didn't remember it.
Yeah, and that's why he was in the fugue state.
Yeah.
And so he's infected already once he comes home. That's why he starts getting sick.
Yeah.
That's not really spelled out in the book, and that's not what happens in the movies.
No.
But that's my understanding of the
Yeah,
book. Is what happens
that's
to
my
him.
implication too, is that he was already sick, but nobody knew what it meant
Yeah.
yet. And then my question is, because every turning people into vampire lore is different. So this seems to set up a vampire system where you get infected first, but then it's still not done. Like there's like an infected and then there's a turned.
In the book, you have to die before you become a vampire. Yeah.
And
so you get infected, you're infected for a few days, you die.
So the infection is what kills you to then
and then you
rebirth
come back as a vampire.
Okay.
Because we see that happen several times to different characters.
Yes. And that's why I noticed that it was like a 2-part process, because then when they died, the evidence of their attack disappears after they die.
Yes. Once you die, all the wounds are gone. You become a serene-looking corpse. Like
and you look better than you did before you died.
Everyone's like, "Are you sure they're really dead?" Like,
yes.
I'd fuck this corpse.
Yes. Ugh. Small towns. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Okay. So Danny is back, is sick, and then eventually, like when they're in that infected state, what usually manifests is they finally pass out to the point, like they have to go to the hospital.
And that's where we meet Dr. Cody.
And that's
my name.
Yeah.
Which I always loved as a kid, because the only other Cody I ever knew about was Buffalo Bill Cody.
Okay, well there you go.
So yeah, Dr. Cody, they're trying to figure out what's wrong with Danny, and then they're just always like, oh, it's probably anemia, Get him some liver. We'll keep an eye on him.
Yeah, and then while so he dies, and then they have a funeral. So basically, there's a big ER element of this book as well.
There's a lot of hospital in this book.
A lot of hospital.
From this point forward.
As people continue to get infected, there's always that process of them being sick, get taken to the hospital, sit in the hospital for a few days, ultimately die. Like that repeats a lot.
Yeah.
And
So I want to jump
to
there's a couple other characters who we've been getting sort of little chapters from.
Okay.
The first of which is Father Callahan, who is a major character in the story, but doesn't have much to do in the first half other than drink and complain about being a Catholic priest in the 1970s.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't see him until the funerals started.
Yeah.
So,
he's really just, he's in his rectory just getting drunk and being like, man, church sucks.
Yeah.
No one wants to be here. I don't want to be here. I'm not sure God's real. I don't want to be a priest. Anyways, I'll see you in 5 chapters. I'm going to be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But we also get this side story about this woman who's cheating on her husband with this utility worker guy.
Yeah, utility worker.
He's like this young kid. He's like 19. He keeps just coming to her house and having sex with her. And then around the same time that Danny is getting sick, is becoming a vampire, her husband comes home. And we get this scene where he catches them in bed. He's got his shotgun. He forces the kid out into the living room, naked, and makes him put the gun in his mouth. Pulls both triggers, but there's no ammunition in it. The kid shits himself.
Yeah.
And he just forces him out, and he's like, you've got $50 in your wallet. Get on a bus, leave town. If I see you again, I'm going to kill you.
Yes.
And then we get him going back into his house and doing terrible things to his wife that Stephen King doesn't really describe, but
yes.
We get, through the rest of the book, he's doing terrible things to his wife.
Yes.
And the kid's walking down the road to go to the bus station, and he meets somebody on the road. This guy with slick back hair and a long nose and tall, but it's a man. And the guy's like, hey, you don't have to leave town. You can stay here and get revenge. And the kid's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we have our second vampire.
Yep. And so that's, so things are starting to happen there. And then we get introduced at some point to the English teacher, Mr.
Matt
Burke.
Yeah.
Matt Burke.
So Matt Burke is the English teacher at the high school who meets Ben at Dell's. And they hit it off because he's read his books also. And Ben likes anyone who's read his books and says nice things about them.
Yep, just like any good artist.
And Matt convinces Ben to come talk to his high school, his AP class, like the kids who actually give a crap about anything. And so he goes and does that. And they become friends, So he comes over and makes them his spaghetti dinner. And they drink some wine and talk about being dudes,
Yep. And then
we also get the bus driver is a character we get who's like the meanest fucking bus driver in the world.
Yes.
Like if you chew gum on his bus, he will kick you off the bus for 5 days and make you walk to school.
Yep.
If you pass a note, he will kick you off the bus for 5 days and make you walk to school. We get some duds. Gets a couple chapters where he's just like talking about how much he wants to have sex with these high school girls.
Yes, he's a hunchback.
He's a hunchback
and a creep.
And the town has just decided, Duds, you just live at the dump now, buddy.
Yeah.
You get this little shack. You've got your little TV. You've got your little heater. You're good to go.
Yeah.
We don't want to see you.
They aren't super kind to that. They don't have mental health services and things like that.
No, it's the 70s.
Yeah. So Danny ultimately sick, dies. They have his funeral, and then Mike.
And the funeral, the way he writes it is really tragic. Like the mom's just crying the whole time. And the dad like breaks down, falls into the grave, like, Danny, get out of here! Stop doing this to your mom! I'm gonna whip you! Like,
Stop this prank!
Yeah, stop this prank! Quit
Yeah.
fooling on us! You're breaking your mom's heart! Get out of here! You know.
Yeah, and so.
And Mike's just off eating a sandwich in the woods, waiting to fill in this grave.
Yeah, and then when it's nighttime, he starts seeing. He has these visions of eyes looking at him, and that he thinks that the corpse has its eyes open in the thing, in
he gets
the
like
coffin.
this fixation in his mind of like, wait, they didn't glue the eyes down. They didn't close the eyes. I can't bury him with his eyes open. That's not right.
Yeah.
I need to open up the coffin and close his eyes. I've got 2 quarters in my pocket. I can put them on his eyes. That way his eyes will be closed.
Yeah.
It's all very normal thinking.
Yes. And so he's in there like.
And then he realizes like, oh shit. An hour and a half have passed while I've been thinking about this. What's going on? Like,
Yeah.
he's being manipulated. He doesn't realize it.
Yes. And so we don't see it, but the implication is that Danny in his coffin emerges, bites Mike,
Yeah.
and infects Mike. And so then later.
Vampire number 3.
Yeah. And so then later we see Mike at Dell's, where everybody's back at the bar again, hanging out. And he looks like shit.
Yeah.
And is like in the corner, like, man, Mr. Burke. Like Mr. Burke sees him and is
And Mr.
like,
Burke's like, what drugs are you on, Mike?
Yeah.
Mike's like, I wish, man.
Yeah. And so he also, same thing that's happening. And he's like, well, Mr. Burke's like, well, come stay at my house. You know, if it's drugs, you need to sleep it off. If you're legitimately sick, you need somebody who will take you to the hospital tomorrow, and I will do that. So either way, like, just come, stay with me. And he does. And then, see that, so this is the part where I got confused. So while Mike is sleeping in the spare room, one of the vampire kids comes through the window, ostensibly Danny.
Yeah, because Danny's the only vampire kid at this point.
Yes. And
so Mr. Burke is downstairs, and he hears a noise. And then he hears like a child's voice and like a hideous laugh. And he's too afraid to go upstairs and see what it is.
Yeah. And so I'm like, what if he already bit Mike, what did he need to come back for?
Just to feed on him.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just going back for seconds.
Okay. But there was no other like process that had to happen.
No. So instead, Matt calls his new friend Ben Mears. And it's like, hey Ben, it's a little late. You want to come over?
Yeah.
You want to check something out? And by the way, you got a cross or a St. Christopher's medal or anything?
Yeah. And I think he did notice the bites.
Yeah, he had seen the bites on his neck. And he's like, hey, where'd you get those marks? And Mike's like, oh, cut myself shaving or whatever.
Yeah. And so they make it to, like, Mike dies.
Yeah, so Ben comes over to the house. They go up to the room. They look at it. And Ben's like, well, he's dead, dude.
Yes. And there's this very long description about how they let his arm fall and his knuckles smack on the wood floor, and how affected they are by like how just heavy that is.
But they look at his neck and the wounds are gone. His body looks completely pristine, like. And Matt's like, well, no, he looked like shit, 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
And Ben's like, okay, well, we need to call the cops. Then you need to call your lawyer if you have one, like.
Yeah, because they'll think you killed him.
Yeah.
And so, so that...
But Matt's starting to kind of put things together now. Like, Matt is a believer. And Matt's starting to be like, I think I know what this is. I think I know what's happening here. And now I have to start trying to convince people that I'm not fucking crazy.
Yeah. And so then at some point he has Susan at his house, too. Because then, like, the next night or a couple nights later, he hears movement upstairs again while he's talking downstairs and is like, you stay here, I'm gonna go up and investigate this. And because he hears the laughing again and hears the things, and so he opens the door and Danny is there.
Mike is there.
Or Mike is back, or Mike has come back.
Mike has come back because he's already been invited into the house, so he can come and go now.
Yes.
Because this does play by the rules of vampires have to be invited to come into your home.
Yes. And so he's back. So they have their fight, and he revokes his invitation, uses a cross. The crosses are very powerful in this story. They can be made up crosses.
As long as you believe in them, they work.
And they glow. They go.
They have the power of the
whoa,
white.
whoa, 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 and then
I did not hear that noise in my book, but yes.
Yes, that's what I heard. And so
mine were more like.
So so dumb.
And it's so powerful that it gives Mr. Burke a heart attack.
Yes, and then Mr. Burke has a heart attack and has to go to the hospital
More
for
hospital
different
time.
reasons. So so he is at the hospital. People at the dump, all of the other people are starting to infect. Like Mike goes and starts infecting his friends, and then and then there's just like a day that Ben's just like hanging out. And wait.
One of your favorite parts happens right around this time then. Ben and Susan just decide to go have sex out in the park.
That's right.
He's like, they go have another dinner at Susan's parents' house.
Yes.
While people are being turned, while they, at this point, like, know that there are vampires in town.
Yes.
They go have dinner and Susan and Ben's like, hey, you mind if Susan comes over to my place for a little bit? And Susan's mom's like, no. And Susan's like, I'm a big girl. I can go do that. And they go walking through town. They're like, oh, let's just stop here and have sex in the park. Well, there are vampires around.
This is the thing about the horror genre. There's a lot of things that I made notes on of things that are so within the trope of horror that I just don't like understand. Identifies it as it's going to be horror.
Yeah.
If you didn't already know, is that people are still horny even when there's monsters. Like it's just
maybe even hornier.
Maybe even hornier. So yeah. So anyway, so they're doing great. And together, maybe that's why she was. I don't know why she was also at Matt's house. I never figured that out. But anyway, so Floyd, who thinks that he and Susan are still kind of a thing, hates Matt also, and so hates Ben also. And
I think there's an implication that even like Susan's mom has been like calling Floyd or like communicating with him and like telling him about Ben and being like, you need to do something about this man.
Yeah. And so
You're the one that I want.
Yeah. So there's this beautiful scene where Ben has gotten out of his car and there is a man standing in front of him. So we don't know who it is yet. We just get this description of him wearing.
He's wearing like a raincoat, like a big hat, like a ski mask, and like rubber gloves, like dishwasher gloves.
Just standing in front of Ben, and then he beats the shit out of
him. Whips his ass.
And then Ben ends up in the hospital, and so we've got the whole Scooby gang like getting together, like being at the hospital. Now we've got
Matt and Ben both in the hospital. Susan's visiting them. Dr. Cody's there taking care of both of them. So essentially, we've gathered our party.
Yes.
Only one we're missing now is Father Callahan.
Yeah, and Mark.
And Mark, who Mark gets his night visit from Danny.
Yes.
One of my favorite scenes in the book.
Yes.
Mark doesn't know about the vampires yet. Mm-mm. He's in bed, and he hears a noise at his window. He hears scratching at his window, and he kind of looks up and sees Danny floating in his second-story window. Mm-hmm. And the vampires have like this power in the book where if you look them in the eyes, they can sort of hypnotize you, they can glamour you. Mm-hmm. And Danny tries to glamour him, but he doesn't look in his eyes. And he's feeling this like compulsion to be pulled into his eyes. Mm-hmm. And just before he does, he notices in his little monster tableau that he has set up in the graveyard scene, there's a little cross there. Mm-hmm. And as he looks at it, it starts to do the wom wom wom. And so he looks at Danny and goes, "Fine, come in then." And as Danny comes through the window, he just grabs the cross and holds it out to him and touches him with it, and it just burns Danny, and he goes flying through the window.
Cross is so effective in this story.
And Mark's immediate reaction is, "Oh, I got to kill all the vampires."
Yes.
Because Mark is awesome.
Yes. And
Mark's dad comes in like 2 minutes later, and Mark's already back in bed. And Mark's dad is like, "Hey, what's going on?" Mark's like, "Nothing." And Stephen King, the way he writes it, he goes, "And that's the difference between children and men. Matt Burke's 3-minute encounter with Mike gave him a heart attack. Yes. Mark Petrie was asleep 3 minutes later." Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah. That took a lot out of me.
So
anyways, got to go kill my friend tomorrow.
Yeah. So they're kind of like, so the gang that's at the hospital, they've recruited the librarian to bring over vampire books. So
no questions asked.
Yeah. So
now, Jill, You're a librarian, right?
Yes.
If someone called you from a hospital and said, hey, I need every book you have on vampires. I need you to bring them to me in the hospital. What would your reaction be?
I'm happy somebody's reading.
All right.
We practice freedom to read. We don't judge. We want,
no follow-up questions?
Be like, oh, do you want the adult versions or the kid version?
I guess today you would be like, you don't have the internet there?
Yeah, no. But no, I love it. I love the home delivery service. That's a program that we have at the library too that you can sign up for if you're homebound. So it's a great service. So yes,
we are pro library here.
Yeah. So they're basically like, Matt's out of commission, so they're like, you can be the book guy, and so he's just stays at the hospital, is reading. They've made a decision that all of this stuff started getting weird when those 2 European guys came to town, so maybe we should just go talk to them and just get a read on them, whatever. And Susan is like, well, they're at the Marston's house. Why don't we just fucking go there and cut out all this middle shit and just go? And
the men are like, no, we can't do that. That would be revealing our hand.
So, infuriating horror trope number 2, the gang splits up. Mm-hmm. And so Susan goes, she's just like, well, I'll just go. Everybody's busy. I'll just go. She
doesn't tell them.
She doesn't tell them. So she goes, she parks in the grass somewhere. She crawls.
Makes the worst steak possible.
Yeah,
she finds an old rotted piece of fence and just breaks it in half, like, that'll kill a vampire.
Yeah, because she doesn't know if she believes yet either, but she's operating. Yeah. They try to give her pep talks to just
she's like halfway there.
Yeah, they're like, just take your disbelief out of your system and just listen to this as if it's true. And she's like, fine. And then so she's acting under the impression that there is vampire in town.
So yeah, she parks at the bottom of the hill, sneaks through the woods, gets to the edge of the clearing there, and then at the end of the chapter she feels like a hand on her shoulder. Dun, dun, end of chapter. Yeah.
And then you find out that it's Mark, the little kid,
doing the same thing, but he's got his professionally made stakes he made with his father's lathe from his father's woodworking station in the basement of their house.
Yes.
Mark's ready to go.
Yes. So,
Mark sees her stakes
yeah.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with that?
Yeah. And so this scene is so fun in the book that now Cody watched the original movie. I've not watched the original movie. So the other 2 iterations of this that I have, adaptations of it I've seen, did not do this scene right and justice. But what happens is, so I don't know, we're maybe halfway through the book.
This is
maybe not,
right at halfway, yeah.
Where basically what happens is they go in.
They break in a kitchen window. Susan lifts Mark into it and then pulls herself up into it.
And I don't know if they split up right away or if they go to the cellar together. I'm trying to remember because so much happens in this scene. Because Susan gets captured.
They both get captured pretty quickly.
Oh yeah,
Barlow's
that's right.
there.
They both get captured. Okay.
Barlow's there. He captures. He basically just knocks Susan out, takes Mark, takes him upstairs, ties him up, hog ties him
to the ceiling,
hands behind his back, feet tied together, noose around his neck. Anytime he tries to get out of this, it's going to get tighter and tighter. But what we already know about Mark is he loves magic and Harry Houdini, and he knows this thing where if you breathe in all your breath and tighten all your muscles as tight as you can, it creates a little bit of slack. And so he does that, and so we get this inner monologue of Mark as he's just slowly working these knots loose. He gets one hand loose. He's watching the sun move across the floor as it's getting darker and darker. He gets another hand loose. He's able to get the noose off of his neck. He's able to get his feet loose. The sun's getting more and more. He starts hearing Barlow come upstairs. He breaks apart this old metal bed frame. Straker. Yeah, yes. Straker.
So Straker's the familiar, we're realizing. So Barlow's the vampire, the main vampire, and then Straker does his bidding.
Yeah.
Is essentially what is happening here. And so Straker's been in charge of the upstairs situation.
And Straker's just this real mustache twirling villain at this point. He's just revealing his hand. He doesn't have to fake it anymore with these guys. And he's oh, you're gonna meet the master. He's gonna have so much fun with you. He's gonna
Yeah.
And so then he breaks apart this metal bed frame, gets this big metal bed leg, gets behind the door. Straker comes back upstairs. He's oh, I just need to be evil one more time.
Yes.
Sticks his head through the door, and Danny just whacks him across the head.
Yes.
He falls down, or I keep saying Danny. Mark.
Yeah.
Mark like tries to jump across his body. He grabs his leg, and Mark just bashes his head in again.
Yeah. So he kills Straker.
Kills Straker.
The kid
does more than anyone else has done in this book.
No. And then
he runs down the root cellar because he's looking for Susan.
Yep.
And he yells her name, and he hears her, and she's like, "Mark, get out of here!" And then he hears another voice.
Yes.
It's like, "Come down here, come down here. I have. What does he say? He's like, I have like respect for you."
Yeah.
And Mark's like, "Hey, I killed your friend, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna kill you too."
Yep.
And then he has to leave because it's getting dark, and he doesn't want to get killed by the vampire.
Yeah. So essentially, he leaves Susan when it is strongly implied that she's not going to live through this. And so Mark goes to Ben, as everybody does when something has happened.
He
runs to the boarding
in my mind,
house.
he runs to the hospital, which is like in a different town. He sprints the entire way there.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, I killed Straker. The vampire killed Susan. I'm gonna kill the vampire.
Yeah.
You want to come with me?"
So that's where Mark joins the Scooby Gang, because he has to go tell Ben that his girlfriend is dead.
Yeah.
Is essentially what has happened. And so, because he's a smart kid, he knows what all the adults are. Because Ben came and visited their school. Was that all related or not related at all?
I think Susan told him about Ben.
Okay.
About like Ben and Matt and all the stuff that they had known about.
While they were walking across the lawn.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, so now we've halfway through the book, we've already lost one of them. We've lost Susan.
Then I think that's when you get this beautiful chapter that's just Stephen King being like, "The town died on this day, and no one really knew it."
Yep.
But it did.
Yep.
Like by the time the next night was over, there's really not going to be anyone left alive here.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause that's how fast these vampires are moving up. It becomes like an exponential thing where like, and then he just starts giving you, and he gets you like, this one man had a heart attack like cleaning out his leaf gutters.
Yes.
He's the one person that does not die becoming a vampire.
Yes.
Lucky him.
Yep.
And then he just gives you these little anecdotes about this person went to this person's house and made them a vampire. This person went over here and made them a vampire. Mm-hmm. This person made their baby a vampire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's baby vampires in this.
Yeah, okay, we get this recurring story of the McDougalls where like they're like 19-year-olds who had a baby in high school and they both just hate being parents. They live in one of Larry Crockett's shitty little trailer homes, and she just keeps like beating her child.
Yeah.
And then they all become vampires.
Yeah. So,
probably the best thing for them.
Yeah. So what then? So they leave Matt in the hospital, and they
because Dr. Cody's like, "Matt, you can't go anywhere. Like
Yeah.
you're like inches away from another heart attack, and the next one's gonna kill you."
So in this process, they confirm vampires by the visit to the morgue, and so Susan is actually still with them at this point. She hasn't separated yet because she's at the morgue with them. I think that when Mrs. Glick dies, because
No, Susan in the book doesn't go to the morgue. It's Dr. Cody and Ben.
Okay. For some reason, I thought she was sitting in the background, but maybe it's just from the visual from the movie that I saw.
That's in the movie.
Okay, so
because Dr. Cody is friends with the Jewish man who runs the funeral home because he saved his son's life at the lake.
Yes.
And that's why they're able to go sit Shiva with Mrs. Glick's body.
Yes.
Because they can't find the medical examiner because he's a vampire.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's turning into vampires and then sleeping a lot during the day.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone in the town just feels tired.
Yeah.
We're all just so tired and the sun hurts, so we're just going to take naps.
So they go to the morgue. So Mrs. Glick, so the mom of these kids finally also dies. Poor dad.
Yeah.
So now his family is all gone.
But don't worry, he's going to be a vampire soon. Too.
And so they're like, well, we could figure out if it's vampirism if we exhume Danny's body. And they're like, no, I have a better idea. If we go to the morgue, the mom is still sitting in there, so you can see if she wakes up.
We'll just wait and see.
And she did.
Yeah. So she wakes up, and that's when we find out that the crosses work. But she also bites Dr. Cody.
And he has an
fight. And in the book, makes Ben give him a tetanus shot.
Yes.
Right away.
Yes.
And then they disinfect the wound, and then he's like, all right, put the cross on me. If it burns me, we know I'm a vampire and you have to kill me.
Yep.
But they put the cross on him, and it doesn't do the wah, 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 wah. So
yep.
Dr. Cody's like, cool, I'm a great doctor.
Yes.
I get to
that was magical. I'd never seen that happen before in a story, so I was excited to see that. So they know, so definitely vampires.
Score a win for medical science.
Yes, and then they deal with Mrs. Glick. They know there's vampires. And then they also get Father Callahan on board. So then they go find him and tell him the whole thing. And then so
And he like also is reluctant.
yeah.
But he's reluctant for a different reason. He's like, if I were a younger priest, I would be all on board with this because it sounds like fun, and the younger priests view the Catholic Church as just sort of ornamental. But I'm old school, and I take this shit seriously. And so if you want me to go in my power as a Catholic priest, I'm bringing the full church with me. And they're like, whatever, man, just
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do I keep forgetting Mark's name? Mark's like, cool, can we go get my parents real quick?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, you and the priest go get your parents, and then we'll all meet up at the hospital and figure out what our next move's gonna be. And that's a mistake.
Yeah. So have they dealt with Susan yet at this point?
No.
Or is there still building to that? Okay. So then there's a cut to the Petrie's house, or Petrie's house.
Which is I think my favorite scene in the whole book.
Yeah. So it is the priest and Mark are talking to Mark's parents.
And Mark's parents are having none of this bullshit.
None of this bullshit at all.
They're like, listen, I don't know why you're here with the priest. I don't know why you think there were vampires in town. I'm just glad you brought my son home. You can leave now. We're going to go to bed.
Phone lines cut.
Power goes out. and the priest's cross starts to glow.
Yep. And so there's a vampire in the midst.
And the next thing you know, Barlow is there. And Barlow has smashed the Petrie parents' heads together, killing them both.
So they also escaped vampirism.
And Danny runs to his Mark runs to his parents in disbelief, and now Barlow has Mark in his grasp. And you've got Father Callahan on one side of the room with his glowing white-hot power of the cross, and it's starting to glow his entire arm, and he's feeling this power of the white, the power of all that is good. And Barlow's like, okay, that's cool, but if you want this kid back, throw down your cross. Face me one-on-one if you really believe that much. And Callahan's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Do I?
and then it goes, whoa.
Yeah,
and then it starts powering down as his disbelief builds up.
And he's like, oh, what, no, I won't do it. and Barlow lets go of Mark, and he's like, come on, man. If you're a real priest, if you're a real shaman, come and do it. Face me. And his cross just goes out.
Yep. So Mark gets away.
Mark gets away. Mark runs, but Mark spits on Barlow.
Yes.
Says, I'm going to kill you.
Yes. Runs.
And runs out. And Barlow takes Callahan's cross and snaps the sides off of it and says, it's such a shame. What should a man lose his faith?
Yep.
And then he cuts open his own arm and holds it up to Callahan's mouth. And you get Callahan's perspective, and he says, and Callahan at this point we know is a drunk. He's been a drunk the whole book.
Yeah.
And he says he spit and gasped and did everything he could, but in the end he drank.
And then he was done. So we lost Callahan now.
But we get more Callahan.
Yes?
Yes. We get later in the book, we get Callahan. So Callahan basically has now been cursed. So Callahan, he leaves the house. Barlow's like, get out of here, I'm done with you. And so he leaves the house and he goes to the church. It's the only thing he can do. And he tries to open the door and it burns him.
And he can't.
He is no longer allowed in holy ground. So he's like, oh, guess I got to leave town. So he just goes to the bus station. He has like whatever money he has. He's like, give me a ticket to wherever the furthest I can go. And they're like, well, there's a bus to New York City in half an hour. He's like, great. Gets on the bus. Says they get to the next stop. He goes to the bus driver. He's like, hey, will you go in there and get me a bottle of whatever?
Yes.
The bus driver's like, I don't need you cutting up on my bus. And he gives like an extra 20. He's like, just a bottle of whatever they have is fine.
Yeah.
The bus driver's like, whatever. And then you just get like, Father Callahan's last line is like, he drank that bottle and he didn't stop drinking for a long time.
Yeah, so then...
And that's the end of Father Callahan in this book.
Yes, in this book.
But 25, 30 years later, we find out what happened to Father Callahan after that.
Nice.
In another book.
Nice.
And it is very satisfying.
Good. Yeah, and so
we
lose
they've got
him.
Mark, dead parents, runs back to the hospital, I guess.
Yes.
Kid's getting all of his leg days in.
Yes. And so eventually we also lose Matt.
Yeah.
Because he has another heart attack in the hospital. So just completely natural death. He just dies there, and it is tragic, and they don't have time to deal with that.
We also get the scene where Susan's mother now, who has just gone fucking nuts, gets her gun, comes to the hospital. This is pre 9/11. You can just walk into a hospital with a gun. She's just got to kill Ben Mears.
Yeah.
And she's just walking through the lobby with this gun. And some guy, I don't think he even gets a name. It's just like, hey, what are you doing? Tackles her. The gun goes off, shoots like an orderly in the leg. Somebody else tackles her. They end up taking the gun from her. She dies. I don't know when she was even a vampire. I don't think she'd even been bitten. I think she was just crazy.
Yeah.
She's just like, you're not going to take my daughter.
Yeah.
Not knowing that she's already dead.
Yeah. So they go.
But Ben at this point has recuperated from his beating from Floyd Tibbetts, who at this point I figured out was the man who beat him, who was dressed that way because he had also been bitten by Duds or somebody else who was a vampire and was in the act of changing before his death to resurrect as a vampire. That's why he was all covered up and everything.
Yes.
So Ben's better. We've got Dr. Cody. That's when they had gone and done the Mrs. Glick test. They're back. So now we basically just have Dr. Cody, Ben, and Mark.
But there was a point, so we kind of glossed over because Father Callahan helped with this when they went back to the Marston house to deal with Susan, to make because Ben hoped they were on a rescue mission, but they were not on a rescue mission, and so they found her, and so Barlow had left a trap,
the note,
like a note, or like a not a trap, but like a very mean prank on them. And so Barlow had left Susan's turned dead body in the cellar
in his coffin
for them to find. And then but Father Callahan had also done his on the thing, and Barlow couldn't stay there because he like purified the home, and so Barlow had to like leave. I think he couldn't he couldn't live there anymore.
Consecrated the property.
So Barlow is on the loose. Like they don't know where he went, but they left Susan. They realize, oh my gosh, we have to stake Susan. Ben can't do it because he's a baby about it. He's in love. And so they deal with Susan's body.
And a big thing in the book that I love is whenever they stake a vampire, they have to use a stake and a hammer.
Yes.
Because you can't just push a piece of wood
because not everybody
through
has
a
Slayer
human
powers
body.
to do that.
Especially a 9-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So they had to kill Susan in the Marston house. It's consecrated. So Barlow's in the wind.
Yeah.
So then it essentially becomes vampire hunt.
Yes, and so
they go to Mark's house because his dad had the good woodworking set downstairs, had all the firewood cut. His dad was a very Type A personality, so they're just cutting all these pieces of ash wood into stakes down there. They
cover up the parents so he doesn't have to look at them still dead on the floor.
And their plan is to just start going house by house.
And they're trying to figure out where Barlow went. Like, so they know he's not at Marston House anymore, but they know he still has to be somewhere. And the main clue that they have about where he is that they saw that he had chalk on
Mark
him.
remembers from the attack in his house that he had blue chalk on his fingertips.
Yes.
And they're like, well, where else is there chalk? And they come up with schools.
Yes.
Schools use chalk.
And so they think
and Matt is like, well, not the new school, because the new school is all fancy, and we use, dry erase boards because we're the 1970s.
Yes.
And they're like, well, what about the old school? They're like, oh yeah, he could be in the old school. So their plan is they're going to go search this old school, but it's getting dark. It's just always getting dark now. Like they're wasting so much time each day that they have.
Yeah, that's their like time clock. Is their bomb clock is.
They're living
sunset.
like my schedule in like college weekends. Like they're not starting anything till 4:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah. And so through process of so what's really interesting to me while they're on vampire hunt is that they go into, so basically what happens is vampires during the day have to essentially just be sleeping somewhere where it's so dark. And so they go into all of these people's houses and they find everybody's sleeping vampire bodies like in the crawl spaces and the cupboards of their houses. And
they're like they're like dormant, like they do not wake up even if you like they start like pulling them out into the sun, and they just like mindlessly like crawl back into their dark spaces. Like they will not attack you, they will not do anything during the daylight.
No, they just can't. That's how they're able to like stake as many things as they're able to during the day. And so but what was really interesting awareness for me, because when I think of vampire stories, they're always in a lair together, or there's always like a fancy one that has this very fancy coffin.
Yeah.
But it's like not everybody just fucking had coffins in their houses.
No.
And like just a town that's just full of vampires where they're not like a coven or like they're not, you know, it's just like it's like the rats move in.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's they don't have their own coffins yet.
Yeah.
They're expensive. I learned that. Coffins are expensive.
Again, cremation, great option.
Yeah.
There'll be so much ground.
So there's just a lot of this stuff that I never really thought about because I'm just so used to just the vampire lair stories.
And that is an interesting choice to make with the vampire lore that he chooses in this book, because it would be such an easy choice to be like, oh, you just pull them out in the sun and they burst into flames, which is an existing thing in vampire lore. Like, we just go around house to house and just pull them outside and be done with this. But no, it makes it so much harder. Like, they have to stake each and every one of them.
Yeah. And so they finally, through process of remembering things that they didn't realize they remembered, is that they're like, you know what? He is at Eva Miller's boarding house because there's a pool table in the basement.
And this is, I think, one of my only flaws in this book is it's like a mystery that's solved where you didn't have enough of the elements to solve it yourself.
Yes.
Because they never mentioned this pool table before.
Okay, that's what I thought. I had missed something.
Yeah, no, it's this thing where it's just like, oh, now we've just added this pool table in here to make it convenient to where now we're fixing this mystery that we've introduced here. Like, you could have so easily dropped that in somewhere earlier in the book, and he just didn't.
Yeah, and so my favorite horror happens when they go back to Eva Miller's house. And they walk through the kitchen, and they kind of vaguely notice in passing that all the knives are missing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's
It's Mark and Dr. Cody. They've left Ben back at Mark's house making more steaks.
Yes.
Like, they've decided to, once again, split up.
Split the group. And what happens is they go, so they're like, well, they're probably in the basement. That's where the pool table is.
Yeah.
And so he opens the basement. Of course, the
Pitch
lights.
black.
Pitch black. Lights never work, but he sees the railing. And
Dr. Cody
sees the railing and assumes he's going to go down the stairs, except it's a booby trap because they left part of the railing in like a step, maybe. And then once you go to the next one, you just drop. They removed the whole staircase.
Out the steps.
And then took the handles off of the knives and like posed them like face up. So if you did fall into the booby trap, you just get impaled on knives.
Yeah.
And that's how Dr. Cody dies.
Falls under the knives, dies slow.
Yes, and so also did not get turned into a vampire. And so then now again we're left with Mark having to run from from the scene of a horror back to Ben. And
tells him what happened.
And so they figure out that they can get down the stairs by climbing kind of the...
They get like a long board,
yeah.
Like put it down and use it as like a ramp.
Yeah, so they can get around it, and then... But then at that point, Barlow's pretty easy to kill because it's still daytime. So they just figure out his coffin. So this is the other thing that happens, is that they're always padlocked into a place. But I'm like, who's running the padlocks to let them back out? How are because the padlocks are always on the outside of things.
He has other, like, people who have been bitten but have not yet turned doing work for him. Because we get a scene where Eva and Weasel, Ed, who lived in this is the boarding house where Ben was living also, where they are digging out in the root cellar, like clearing space, moving stuff to get into the deeper part where they're going to put Barlow's coffin. And so one of them then presumably stayed out and padlocked everything and moved the big piece in place, because when Ben and Mark get down there, they have to move this big piece of furniture out of the way, but they're very able to do it because they are now getting the power of the white, the power of good to help them. They pull that out of the way, and then Ben gets like the axe, and that starts glowing also, and hatchets like God wants them to win.
Yes.
And so he hatchets the padlock off, and they get in there, and they're able to pull the coffin out very easily, like it's very light for them, you know. And they pull it out into the main part of the basement and get it opened up there.
And then he can.
But then Mark looks at Barlow's eyes.
Yeah, Barlow, he can't really move or do anything, but his eyes open, and then
he's like full Stephen Hawking at this point, just.
Oh no. And so Mark almost gets pulled into his thrall.
And he starts attacking Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah, he like jumps on him, and Ben has to like shove him aside.
It's like, stupid kid, get out of And so it's like Barlow was relatively, in the scheme of things, pretty easy to murder. His body, they just kind of stabbed him a bunch, and then his body just until they were just.
And again, competing vampire lore, he could have made a choice here now where once you kill the head vampire, all the other vampires either die or revert back to humans, but he doesn't. They just stay being vampires.
Yeah.
They don't attack Ben and Mark because they have the power of the white, and they're just kind of they all start coming out of the space. They all start coming out of where they've been hiding, and they're just kind of looking around, all kind of confused.
Yeah, they're like
and
zombie,
pissed. Yeah,
like
they're
a little
just like
zombie-like.
They're like, what are we supposed to do now?
And so
you killed our master.
And so Ben and Mark are like, well, we love each other, and we have nobody else anymore, so let's just get in the car and leave town. And they did.
And then we cut back to the prequel, the prologue, where it's like a year later, and they're in Mexico reading newspapers, and we find out what they've been looking for are stories of people being attacked, people going missing around Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
And we get those stories, and they say, okay, it's time to go back. Let's get some holy water from your friend the priest. I sold my book that I wrote about all this. We've got some money. Let's go back to Maine. And we get them back outside Salem's Lot. They're up on the hill. And there's a big thing we didn't talk about where we learned very early on that there had been a fire in Salem's Lot in 1951 that had nearly burnt down half the town. And so the town is super vigilant about fire now. They have like the best volunteer fire brigade. Everybody has fire extinguishers. Like the town is so worried about fire because they know how fast a fire can destroy this town. And so you get this final scene where it's Mark and Ben up standing on the hill on the grasslands where the first fire started, being like, do you think, it'll be enough? And he's like, well, no, but they're all sleeping tonight. They're not gonna be able to sleep where they were tomorrow. They're gonna be on the run, and we're gonna hunt them. And they start a fire.
Yeah. Yep, starting fires. That's what happened in the Carrie book too, is the big fires. Also,
Stephen King loves to burn a town to the ground.
It's effective.
It is, yeah. So yeah, that's Salem's Lot, the book. I loved this book as a kid. I probably read this book 10 times over the course of like 2 years. The first time, from the first time I read it, it really spoke to me.
Yeah.
Stephen King loves painting a Norman Rockwell picture and then just showing you the rot right underneath it.
Yeah.
He loves showing you people who look like just normal, pleasant, small town folk, and then just the next chapter being like, oh no, they're all pieces of shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And
again, we start seeing some things in this book that are going to come up in future books. Like you talked about how as soon as you get the antique store, we never really see the antique store operating as the antique store. Like as soon as we start getting hospital time, we find out there's a sign on the antique store that says closed until further notice.
Yeah.
It was open for a day.
Yeah.
But you start getting from that, obviously that leads to Needful Things, which is again about a strange European man who comes to a small town, opens a strange antique store.
Yeah, but the book's actually about the store.
Yeah, and the book's all about the store. But I could see Stephen King being like, man, I wish I would have talked more about that store. That could be a good story there.
Yeah. Yeah. I made another note too that another horror trope that this hit really well too is just the staying and fighting. Because that's another thing I don't understand about horror is that I'm like, I would run or just die. I don't have any inclination to fight an evil in me, but that's a very horror thing, is that people have pride in their town or their life or something.
And that's kind of the thesis we get from Mark in that first encounter with Richie Bowden is if you don't stand up to the bully and fight them, they're just going to keep coming after you. And that's kind of the theme of this book. If they ran from the vampires, who's to say they wouldn't just find them somewhere else?
Which, P.S., the cop ran.
Oh yeah, Parker Gillespie, we get a great moment where they're like, we need to call the cops and get their help, and they go find him, and he's packing his car up.
He's like, I want to hear about it.
He's like, vampires? Don't talk to me about vampires. I'm getting out of here. You should too. This town is fucked.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't mention, we learn about Ben. He's not that old. He's the same age as Susan, basically. I think she's a little younger than him, but not that much. He's a widower.
Yeah.
There was an accident on his motorcycle where he hit a wet patch and his wife fell off his motorcycle and like slammed into like a truck or something, and it killed her. And it was like a tabloid story that Susan's mom
Another
brings
reason
up to
why
her.
she doesn't like
Yeah,
him.
to try to convince his daughter. Well, he was drunk. They gave him the breathalyzer test. They don't do that unless you were drunk. And so this is our first book we've covered that has both our dead wives and kids with knives.
Yes.
The themes that come up over and over again in our Stephen King books. He loves a good widower. He loves a good child protagonist out there fighting off the monsters with whatever weapons they can find.
Yeah.
We got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you want to talk about some of these adaptations?
Sure.
So the 1979 adaptation that I watched, this was presented as a mini-series on ABC. It was done in 2 parts. It was an hour and a half each, with commercials for 2 hours. They were released back to back, 1 week after another. It is not very good.
Okay.
I watched it in 3 hours. It's available as a 3-hour. You can stream it online, and it's just like a 3-hour movie basically.
Which is still shorter than Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
So
it makes some wild choices with the story.
Yeah.
For a 3-hour movie, it doesn't really get to any real action until 2 hours. Yeah. So Father Callahan, who I consider to be a main character of the book, would you like to guess at what minute he appears for the first time in that miniseries?
Well, the 2-hour point or the
Hour 55. Would you like to guess at what point he dies?
2:03.
2:02. He is alive for 7 minutes in this entire movie. They for the Marston house, they couldn't find a house that looked like what they wanted, so they built a facade to put in front of an existing house. And the budget for it ended up getting so out of hand that it cost them $100,000 to build, which at the time they could have just built a whole house for that same amount of money.
Yeah.
The actors.
The whole chair, if you want to pull it down or sit up straighter, I just had a couple of rubs.
Sorry.
Yeah. Do you need a break while we're talking? Okay.
Right on. All right.
All right. Start that again.
The ages of some of the actors in this movie also were just not at all what I pictured for the characters in the book. The guy playing Ben, I looked at him, he was only 36, but he has that 70s thing where he looks much older.
Yeah.
It's like how the actors on Cheers were all actually supposed to be in their 30s. But when you watch it, you're like, these are 50-year-olds.
Yes.
These are a bunch of 50-year-olds in a bar.
Yes.
So he looks like he's like 45 at least. Bonnie Bedelia is the biggest name in this. She plays John McClane's wife in the Die Hard movies.
Okay.
Is probably the thing you would know her from if you
Okay.
know her from anything. She's 31 at the time of filming this. So it looks like like when they go to the scenes where he's at dinner with her parents, it looks like her dad has a friend over at dinner
Yeah.
who's there with his daughter.
Yeah.
They make the choice when Ben arrives at town. He's walking through the park and he sees her reading his book, and he very consciously decides to go over and interrupt her reading to point out that she's reading his book and then ask her out. And he asks her out to dinner, and then it just cuts right to them at her parents' house, as if he invited himself to dinner at her parents' house.
I do have an important question about this adaptation. Did they fuck in
Oh,
this
yeah.
adaptation?
Because she gives the line, he's like, because after the dinner, he's like to her parents, he's like, would you mind if I take your daughter out? And they're like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The mom doesn't like him. But.
Yeah.
And so they're in the car, and he's like, so where would you like to go? She's like, well, there's the drive-in theater, there's Dell's, and there's down by the river where people go to make out. And then you just cut to them down by the river.
Yeah. What's really funny about the other adaptations, so another horror trope is just like gratuitous breasts and sex for no reason in the horror tropes. And both of the adaptations I watched like removed all of that from the story. I'm like,
this had no
got-
nudity because it was a TV release.
yeah,
So
maybe, and that's what one of them was.
yeah.
But I was just like the least sexy I've seen.
The character who plays Mark was 19.
Okay.
He's a full-grown man.
Okay.
The character who played Danny was 14. Ralphie was 13, so very aged up there. Susan does not go to the house with Mark in this adaptation. She goes instead with Ben to the funeral home to watch the body rise. So she stays alive much later. She doesn't die until, she doesn't go to the Marston house until 2:35.
Oh, I see.
And in the story, we see her go into the basement. We see her get taken by Barlow. We don't know what happens to her. And that's important because this version opens with Mark and Ben in Mexico. They're in a church. They're like gathering holy water. And the holy water starts to glow like Frodo's sword, you know, when an orc is near. And Mark goes, "They found us. We have to go further." And Ben goes, "Not yet." And that's all you get in the prologue.
Oh.
At the very end of the movie, we get them going back from the church to their like hotel room, and Susan is lying in their bed. And Ben goes over to her and she opens her eyes. And in this version, the vampires all have glowing eyes. And she glamours Ben, and he starts to lean in to kiss her, and then he stakes her. And that's the end of the movie. So presumably she had been turned into a vampire and had just been like following them across the country into Mexico.
I see.
To their hotel.
I see.
Okay, so the craziest thing about this one, Fred Willard plays Larry Crockett, which I loved. And he plays him as such a Fred Willard character. He's wearing like loud checkered sports coats the whole time.
What happened?
Exactly. He's got the like secretary he just keeps trying to make jokes to, and she's just not laughing at all, you know. They give him the subplot about where he's having a relationship with his secretary when her husband's out of town.
Oh.
So they just turn that whole thing into that. And so her husband is actually the guy that Larry hires to go pick up the crates with all of Straker's packages in them that need to come to town and go to the house. And so the husband, because he's like a truck driver, he has the truck. The husband sublets that job out to Floyd and Mike Ryerson because he has other business to take care of. And so they all meet at the cemetery where the dog died. And instead he takes one of their cars and goes back to his house and watches as Fred Willard comes to his house and watches as Fred Willard and his wife are making out in the living room and everything, and then comes in and does the whole shotgun scene with Fred Willard in his underwear in the living room. And Fred Willard ends up being the first vampire that gets bitten and turned by Barlow. What happened? The vampire Barlow in this adaptation is so different than he is in the book. He is presented as a Nosferatu. The full bald head, white skin, giant buck fangs, you know, just like, and he doesn't speak at all. Which is so weird because when you get the confrontation at the Glick house, or the Petrie house between Barlow and Callahan, which they do that scene, you have to have Straker there also doing the dialogue for Barlow.
Who should be dead by now.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, who should be dead by now.
Okay.
So you have to have that confrontation later. So you get Mark and Susan going back to the house, going to the house much later after Mark's mom has been killed. Mark only gets a mom in that movie.
Yeah, they really did something with all the parents in the adaptations. Like Susan doesn't even have a dad in the most of them.
In this movie also, Susan's dad is Dr. Norton, and he replaces Dr. Cody in the party, in the group, in the Scooby Gang. Like they just eliminate the character of Dr. Cody altogether. So Dr. Norton just takes over that role. He's the one who's the doctor for everyone. He's the one who ends up getting killed in the stairs, that whole thing.
That's wild.
Yeah, so he like goes with them to the Marston house to look for Susan at the end and dies. And yeah, overall, it did a decent job in the second half trying to show the elements from the book just kind of out of order, but trying to remain faithful to what happens in the book. It just, the first 2 hours of it were just so slowly paced and not telling like the same story at all, that I was just like, when are they going to get to the firework factory?
Right.
You know? But yeah, so we both watched the 2004 miniseries, which was presented on TNT, which I remember watching when it first aired originally live when it came out, because I was in college and had free time to do stuff like that back then. And
you reminding me that these are all TV adaptations, like, helps me understand some things too, I think.
So this one stars Rob Lowe wearing
Is it a wig?
I hope so.
It's one of
He
those,
looks like Ian Somerhalder in the Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, it's like one of those hair pieces where like, or styles. I don't know if it's a separate piece or not, but where it's like
It's a system.
Yeah, the hair doesn't touch the back of the head.
Yeah,
It
it's
just
like
goes
it's
like
almost
straight,
a mullet if it was
yeah.
shorter on top.
Yeah, so it goes straight down, and I don't know.
It's so early 2000s.
Yeah, but gosh, I love Rob Lowe.
They make the decision in this miniseries to update the time of the story to the early 2000s.
Yeah, so the antique shop is the only thing that reliably does things online. Nobody has cell phones. They give Burke a laptop, I think, in the hospital,
Yeah.
but that's all but nobody has cell phones yet.
They the prologue for this one is so different. They
Oh my
start
gosh.
we're in a soup kitchen in like the
Yes.
inner city,
Yes.
and
And I don't know what inner city.
I don't know what I feel like Chicago.
Yeah.
It felt like Chicago to me, and I'll explain why I want it to be Chicago in a moment.
Yeah.
We get Rob Lowe, leather jacket, black t-shirt, tight jeans, on a mission, looking for someone. He's in the soup kitchen. He comes inside. We see a priest serving soup. It's played by the guy from Babe. What's his name?
I don't know people's names.
James Cromwell. James
Okay.
Cromwell. Great character actor. James Cromwell sees Rob Lowe, starts running.
Yeah.
We get a
okay.
chase scene.
Yeah.
The two of them, they're chasing, they're running. We end up on like the second story of a building. They fall out of a window together, land on the roof of a cab,
Yeah.
cut to a hospital. They're being wheeled in on stretchers.
Yeah.
The doctor, the priest has a mask on his face, you know, and we get a nurse, like a nurse or something, looking at Rob Lowe like, man, you try to kill a priest, hope you're ready for hell.
Yeah.
Get Rob Lowe in his hotel room, or his hospital bed,
Yeah.
and he's just barely alive, you know. And this nurse is like, yeah, you got anything to say, you better say it now.
And then that's the setup for Rob Lowe
Rob's like, I'm going to tell you a story.
to tell the whole Jerusalem's Lot
And
story.
I think this was all shot on the same set that ER was shot on. And I wish they would have just done this as an episode of ER.
Yeah.
I wish it was just George Clooney.
Is that why you wanted to be Chicago?
Yeah,
'Cause
I
of
wish it
your-
was just George Clooney and Eric LaSalle just being like, man, you see that priest that came in? Anyways, you got to hear what this guy's talking about over
Yeah.
here.
But there is nothing. So is that priest Callahan?
Yeah.
So there is nothing in the book that I saw that would even remotely hint at this scene. Even like, I know you said Callahan comes back in a later story. Nothing to do with the later
No, this
story.
was created whole cloth just for this miniseries. Like, they just spun this out of the air.
Yeah. So
And it's not explained why until the end.
yeah. So he's basically telling the nurse or this orderly this story.
Yeah.
And then, so it plays, so some parts of it are closer to the book. My main complaint was, so every story I've read dealt with, how did Matt Burke die in the old movie, the miniseries you watched?
Ryerson shows up at his window and he has another heart attack.
So it is a heart attack, but just not in the hospital. Yeah. Okay. So, because every adaptation deals with his death differently. And so this adaptation, he gets stabbed by Barlow. Somebody goes into his room and just stabs him with a cane in his hospital room. And that's how he dies in this one.
Yeah, and Burke is played by Andre Brower in this one. And he's a gay teacher.
Yes.
Which a big deal is made of that the town is accepting of that as long as he doesn't talk about it too much.
Yes. And this is something that was in the book, or no?
No. Again,
All I
it's something
know-
they created because it's 2004.
But they alluded to it because they called him a lifelong bachelor. But then he had a crush on Mike. And so he was devastated. So they like gave a romantic lens to his like inviting him to stay and then being really distraught about his death.
Yeah. Now, this miniseries has a great cast. You've got Donald Sutherland playing Straker, and you have Rutger Hauer playing Barlow, who gets to play as a real actual human being playing the vampire instead of the Nosferatu version from the '79 one. And I love that casting, and I feel like it's intentional because those gentlemen both appeared in the 1997 movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where Rutger Hauer essentially plays the same character as the vampire in that, and Donald Sutherland plays the vampire slayer mentor to Buffy, and wears like the same outfit that he's wearing in this movie.
You got to type. You got to type.
They're like, you guys still have those costumes? Bring them with you.
Can I tell you about? So I did eventually see the Buffy movie. But when it came out in theaters, I knew I wanted to see it, but I kept having vampire nightmares, and I'm like, oh, maybe that's my subconscious telling me not to see this movie. And then I didn't see it until I was much more adult. But that's my memory of the original.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorites in high school to just go rent a Blockbuster.
Anyway.
Young Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
The 2004 movie, the 79 movie, Dud. The dump hunchback is not a character, does not show up. 2004 decides instead to devote a lot of time to Dud.
And it's so cringy.
Yeah, he has a relationship with Larry Crockett's high school daughter, Ruthie.
Which in the book, we knew he had a crush on her.
Yeah.
And the way that he was going to get her was to just become vampires with her. And that was like...
But in this one, she's essentially like leading him on just to piss off her father. And he tries to like steal her bra from the dumpster, from the trash.
Yes.
And you get the scene where Dud has his interaction with Rutger Hauer, Barlow in the dump, which is a scene that happens in the book, where he's like offering him, hey, I bet people make fun of you, but they make fun of your hump. I bet the girls don't like you. I can fix all that. Now I'm going to bite you.
Yeah.
And then you get like this super early 2000s scene where Dud meets Floyd on the street. And Floyd's like, oh, hey, Dud, hope you're not mad at us for firing you from getting to collect the trash and leave the dump every once in a while.
Yeah.
And Dud's doing his whole like Spider-Man 3 thing, like, oh no, turns out I'm actually super cool now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to move around real fast and do a little jazz dancing now.
Yeah, they cleaned him up good.
They did. I mean, his hump went away. Or it moved around like in
it's his dick.
Young Frankenstein. Got that front hump now, Dud?
He made me a man.
This version has a lot of Rob Lowe doing voiceover straight from the book.
Yes.
And this is something I have a problem with in a lot of Stephen King adaptations. The words Stephen King puts in his book work when you're reading them in your head. They do not often work when an actor is saying them on a screen.
Yeah.
Good directors and writers, when they're doing adaptations, know what to leave in and what to take out.
Yeah.
Like Mike Flanagan, who has adapted 3 Stephen King books so far and is set to do like 5 more, is really good at knowing what dialogue is going to sound good and what dialogue needs to be changed, because when you read it straight from the page, it sounds hokey and precious and just bad.
Yeah.
And listening to Rob Lowe read these long paragraphs straight from the book just sounds like I'm at like a coffee shop listening to an author try to get me to buy his book, you know?
Yeah, it's an interesting balance with adapting Stephen King because there's so much rich backstory and exposition in all of the books that so rarely can make it, because we saw with The Shining, right, that it just turned into a haunted house book, and you didn't get any of that stuff that was all in his head. And so it was just like, I'm sure it's hard to balance like what emotional investment you want to have and backstory you want to have of these characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of just like narrating over like town scenes and things in that one.
Yeah.
Was that the one where, and they also did lots of goofy things with the Dr. Codys and all of the adaptations too. So yours, he just didn't exist.
In 79, no, he's just Susan's dad is the doctor, and that's
yeah. In this one, he is the guy who's having the affair with a woman.
Yeah.
And he gets blackmailed.
He's having an affair with the girl who in the book is the one beating her baby because she doesn't like being a mom.
Yeah. And so so he's not a great protagonist person, like not a good guy, but so like part of the plot of just like with The Shining, they kept in a transaction scene. Like they made like he needs $10,000 so he doesn't get blackmailed by the
It almost feels
husband.
like they set him up. Like the mom seduced him to intentionally force him to sleep with her so that then the husband could catch them and make him give them $10,000, which is such an unnecessary side story.
It is unnecessary, though I do appreciate that more than him just being in love with this random
Because they
girl.
danced one time at Dell's. She keeps talking about this one time at like New Year's Eve that they danced together. And just be like, man, if I'd just chosen you, we danced that one time. Maybe you could have knocked me up and forced me to marry you. And he's like, I'm a doctor. I'd bought a new car.
Yeah, so then had to be plots where he was walking around to the various people he trusted in his life asking for $10,000 to borrow for for his blackmail.
You got to fill 3 hours somehow.
Yeah, so they also yeah.
This version also had the same problem, the 1979 version. You have 3 hours of story to tell, and I felt like they really wasted the first 2 hours before they got to any real action.
Yeah.
Like, you still have, like, essentially the first 2 hours is just all the setup, and then the last hour they have to rush through the good part of the story.
Yeah. And then what happened to Callahan in this one?
So Callahan in this one, you get the interaction, again, at Mark's house. Callahan, or Mark only gets to have a mom in this one. Mark is poor. Mark's from the wrong side of the track. Mark is played by Travis from Cougar Town, which I really loved.
Yeah.
So you get the interaction where he and Callahan go to his trailer home to get his mom.
Yeah.
Barlow shows up, kills the mom.
Yeah.
Callahan, they do the fight off. Things don't glow in this one. Instead, they just burn really good when they touch the vampires.
Yeah.
And you get the Mark runs away, your faith is lacking, turns him into a vampire. But instead of turning him into that, he turns him into his new familiar once Straker has been killed. And you get the scene at the end where when the town is burning, Callahan is now leading the vampires. And that's why in our prologue and epilogue, Rob Lowe is chasing him down because he is the familiar. He's leading the vampires. And so you get the scene at the very end where they go in to check on the father and he's dead because Mark has come in and killed him.
Yes.
So yeah, they do Callahan so dirty in this movie.
Yeah, it is like watching a Die Hard movie or something like that. And then real quick, so they did a HBO Max adaptation.
Yeah, that was a movie that was originally supposed to have a full theatrical release, but due to the machinations of major motion picture studios now, it was just dumped onto HBO Max instead back in 2024, starring Lewis Pullman, who I really like as an actor. I actually, of the three adaptations, I think it's the best one.
So I would say it's a good movie about a drive-in theater. This one erases the hospital completely. Like nobody goes to the hospital for anything. Instead, they go to the drive-in for everything, and that is the hub of activity.
They did such a good job for the first like 70 minutes sticking to the book, and then it was just like they said, "Done with that. Now what are we gonna do?"
Yes, and so that one.
They just wrote their own story for the last half hour of that book, which they're just like, we don't want to do it. We don't want to go to the house. We don't want to have to do any of that stuff. We just need to tighten this thing up and just put everyone at this fucking drive-in for our last half hour.
And they did a lot of recasting on this one too. So Matt just turns into a vampire. He gets bitten. That's how he dies in this one because no hospital.
Yeah, he's the one who goes with Mark to the house. Him and Mark meet up together and go to the house instead of Susan. So we still get the Mark tied up scene. Mark still gets to kill Straker.
Yes, that one was much better.
Matt's the one who gets taken to the basement and gets turned down there.
Yeah, and then Dr. Cody is a woman.
Yeah.
And is
Which
a
is
delightful
great. Yeah, she's
actress.
awesome.
She did a great job.
That's Alfre Woodward.
And they're trying to figure out where so when Barlow can't be at the big house anymore, they're like, so basically the exposition on that one is Susan takes Ben to to the drive-in at the beginning, and then the whole town is there watching the movie, and so they point at all the cars.
And she says, this is basically where everyone is every night. We all come watch the same movies every night because there's nothing else to do here.
Oh, and here's the people that are having affairs. Here's these people, and so she just like all the exposition happens with them at the movies together. And then at the end, when Barlow is has to move away and hide somewhere else, he is in like an armored truck at the movie theater, and everybody else, they're like, where is everybody? Nobody's cars are here. Nobody's at the
They're
businesses.
standing in the middle of town, and they're looking around like, where'd all the vampires be? And Ben's like, hey, there's no cars.
And they're like, dun, dun, dun. And they were all at the drive-in. So during the day, they go to the drive-in, just ghost town, except all the cars are parked, and you realize all the vampires they sleep in their trunks in this version, rather than hiding in crawl spaces in their houses. They just all hang out. So that's their lair, is the drive-in theater.
Which is just a testament to the size of the trunk space in the American sedan in the 1970s.
Yeah,
you
can you
put
imagine?
2 people in that comfortably.
Hatchbacks wouldn't do nothing for them. So then it creates, but it also creates a bottleneck or whatever, where when the sun is starting to go down, and it hides behind the big movie screen, and people can start popping out of the trunks, and so there's this big showdown at the drive-in where they finally knock down the big movie sign or big movie projector screen.
Mark Petrie is the best character in this movie.
Oh, they played it like Stranger Things. He reminded me like he stepped out of a Stranger Things movie.
He gets to do the fight with the bully in his first scene. He kicks that big fat kid's ass.
Yep.
He gets to get in the car and knock down the movie screen.
That's right.
He's like, can't see over the steering wheel.
Mark tries to drive a car in the book too, which is delightful.
He's literally being played by like a real 11-year-old kid.
Yes.
And he knocks down all the posts on the movie screen, so it falls down, kills all the vampires at once. You've got Susan's mom with her shotgun.
Oh my God,
who has been in a relationship now with Barlow, with Straker.
Because again, no husband in this one either.
So she's been like seduced by him to do his bidding, to like watch over everything during the day.
Did you ever watch the episode of Buffy where her mom starts dating John Ritter?
I think I made it that far, yeah.
Yeah, so that reminded me of that, where she's like, honey, I have a new boyfriend. His name is Richard Straker. Like, it was the same thing when you realized Buffy's mom was dating a robot. It was that same, like, creepy, like, oh no, mom, no. And so anyway, so she's got her shotgun and it is also a boss, like a level boss that they're fighting at the movie theater.
But yeah, you get they kill all the baby vampires, and then they're like, now where could Barlow be? Oh, this giant armored truck sitting behind the concession stand.
Yep.
So they get it opened up, they get his coffin out, but the sun's starting to set. And they're looking for something to open up with. He gets like a pry bar out of a trunk, trying to pry it open. The sun's starting to set. And you're just sitting here like, guys, maybe try tomorrow, you know?
Right?
And unfortunately, they don't get it. He bursts open, you know. They're like, well, let's go hide in the concession stand. But Susan's in the concession stand. She somehow escaped the sun coming down on all of them. So you've got her fighting Ben in there. You've got Mark running away from Barlow out here. He hides underneath the screen. Barlow's like punching down through the screen, trying to find him. He's turning on all the headlights in the car so we can see where he's at because he's a smart kid.
Yes.
Susan and Ben are fighting. Ben's able to kill Susan finally. And Barlow grabs Mark through the screen, and you're looking up at him, and all of a sudden you just get a stake through
his head.
Barlow's head.
Mouth. Like it comes
and
right
they
up.
kind of do a combo of Barlow from the 79 movie and the book in this movie.
Yeah, he's a
a Nosferatu, but he can talk.
But he's a more modernized version.
Yeah, he's got the dome head, the white skin, the big teeth, but like he talks and everything. He's not just like the ghoul.
Yeah. So that one I remember really enjoying it, but being like, this is not the book that I read.
No, not at all. Like they do a good job in the first half, and then they're just like.
Which is kind of like The Shining too, where it's like they started kind of the same, and then it just didn't. And it didn't make it a bad movie, it just made it very different.
I feel like it was mostly a budgetary thing more than anything. Like, locations cost money, actors cost money. So the less locations you put in your script and the less characters you put in your script, the cheaper it is to get a movie made.
And I also love in two of the adaptations, they turned the librarian into the gossip, the town gossip. I'm like, I feel really seen by these adaptations.
But yeah, you could have just called that movie like Vampire Cinema or something.
Yes.
And it would be like, oh, that's a fine movie. Yes. The real problem with doing an adaptation of Salem's Lot today, I think, is this is a book written over 50 years ago. And there have been so many more vampire stories told since then that it feels quaint. It feels
Yes.
so old-fashioned in its storytelling. It's slow. Like all these stories have a hard time knowing what to do with Father Callahan because he doesn't have anything to do until you go to Mark's house.
Yeah.
And that happens so late in the story that you can either just show him drinking and being sad, or you just ignore him. And they all just choose to ignore him. Like even in the 2024 one, you essentially get him talking to people when they're looking for Ralphie Glick, and then you don't see him again for an hour. Like he just has nothing to do in this book until you need him.
Yeah.
He's just kind of an element that you put in place and say, we're going to get back to you later over there.
Yeah.
And that's just a lot of the way Stephen King writes. Like I said, he likes to put his elements in place, and then once he tips over his first domino, then you see why he did all of this.
Yeah.
But doing that in movie form is... My wife tried to watch this with me last night. I'll admit she'd had a couple of glasses of wine. We got 40 minutes into it, and she went, I don't care about this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have to watch this. And she went upstairs.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, this, if you've read the book, you would understand why this is all happening. But the first 40 minutes of this movie is just, like they try to speed it up. You know, the very first scene you get in the movie is Straker telling Larry Crockett, I need you to send a truck to go get these things. And within 10 minutes, we're killing Ralphie Glick. Like they tried to get to the exciting stuff as quickly as they can. They don't spend 15 minutes showing Ben Mears driving through town, but still, it's just, until you get to the good stuff, there's just not much that happens there.
Yeah.
And that's also going to kind of be a recurring theme in some of these Stephen King books and Stephen King. That's more exciting to read than it is to watch.
Yeah. But they're still good movies.
Yeah.
You know, if you not to.
Good directors find a way to make them interesting. Good directors find a way to keep you interested in them along the way. And again, that's something that his son Joe Hill, as a writer, I think it is better at, is making stories more interesting early.
Yeah.
Not having to make you wait for the good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Cool.
Anything else?
I think I put Ben drives a clown car. In the 2024 one, that little green thing.
That is...
He is so tall.
Yeah,
that man is so tall.
That is a Citroen, which is the car
Yes.
that is in the book. So they did do
Yes.
that faithfully. In the 79 book, he just drives a Jeep. In the 2024, I don't remember, he just drives some SUV that whatever brand they got to sponsor the miniseries, I'm sure. But yeah, they tried to be faithful. And yeah, he looks ridiculous driving it.
Yeah, like that one Simpsons character that it's the tall man in the small car.
Everyone needs an automobile. This
Yes.
is the largest automobile I can afford.
Yes, he is that character. So.
And again, going to my favorite game, did The Simpsons do it? Obviously, The Simpsons did do Salem's Lot in one of their early Treehouse of Horrors, the one where you get Milhouse outside the window at Bart's bedroom. Come on, Bart! Vampires get free soda at the movie theater. And we
I
find
don't
out
remember that at all.
it's the one where they go to Mr. Burns' house. Mr. Burns is the vampire. And then they all start turned into vampires. But then you find out at the end that Marge is actually the head vampire.
Oh.
It's kind of a combo of it's a combo of Dracula and Salem's Lot. You get elements of both of them in there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, now I need to go back. I totally forgot. I was watching all these other really long adaptations this week, and so I didn't have time. But nice.
Simpsons did it.
Did they do Carrie too?
I can't find an instance where they've ever done Carrie, which is so weird. It's such a layup. Just get
Probably because they're kids.
Yeah, get Lisa up on that stage, dump some blood on her.
Yeah. She's a vegetarian too, so that would be
would hate
especially
that.
sad. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's all I think I have got
All right.
today. And so, do you want to let the masses know what we're reading next?
Our next episode, we're going to stick around Maine, and we're going to come out of our comas just in time to read The Dead Zone.
Ooh.
And I'm not going to watch the entire TV series because I think it went on for like 8 seasons.
Oh. I hear nods in the crowd.
But there's
okay.
a movie. Yeah, there's a movie.
Okay, good.
And it's got Christopher Walken
Doing that main accent he does.
doing that
right?
main accent.
Why?
Yeah, so we'll see you next time on Dead Wives and Kids with Knives. Wives and Kids with Knives is produced by Cody Lindenberger, Jill Gillespie, and Manasharc Productions. Filmed and recorded by Sadie Till and Marcus Leacox.